we are going to be multiplying and dividing decimals. I'm going to be showing the traditional method for both multiplying and for dividing. For multiplying, if you use the box method, you are still going to count the decimal places just like we do with the traditional method that I'm going to show you. And then go ahead and pretend like they're not there and use your box method and multiply like you normally would if they were whole numbers. And then once you get your answer, you would add your decimal places back in. For division, I am only going to be showing long division. So at this point, everybody should be comfortable enough with long division, and that's what we will be using for dividing decimals. Okay, so let's start with multiplying. The thing about multiplying decimals, you do not have to line up your decimal places anymore. Sometimes they will naturally line up, but you don't have to make sure that they line up, which is really kind of nice because it's just one less thing that you have to worry about. Now, I will see some of you that just tend to do it anyway, but I'll show you for the first one. So for the first one, we're going to do 5 2/10 times 3. Oops, sorry, it's not on the screen. 5 2/10 times 3. So I'm going to go ahead and stack this like a multiplication problem. Okay, so 5 2/10 times 3. Notice, even though 3 is a whole number and I would typically line it up with the 5 if I were adding, I don't have to do that because I don't have to line up my decimal places, which is super convenient. All I'm going to do is I'm going to count how many decimal places I have, which are the numbers after a decimal place. So here's a decimal. I have 1. I don't have any here, so you basically add up what you would do. So, and then I would say I would need 1 decimal place in my answer. Okay, if you were doing the box method, you would do the same thing. You would count 1 decimal place, and then you would do your box method like you were multiplying 52 times 3, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to pretend like the decimal's not there. Multiply like normal, and then put the decimal back in. So 2 times 3 is 6. 5 times 3 is 15. So I get 156, which doesn't really make sense because if I think about 5 times 3, if those were just whole numbers, my answer would need to be somewhere around 15. So if you get 156, something should be going on in your brain going, that's not right. I need to put 1 decimal place back in. So I'm going to start at the end. That's where my decimal would start, and I'm going to move it bloop, 1 place over to the left. So my final answer would be 15 6/10. Okay. Let's do one that's got a couple more decimal places. So we're going to do 6 8/10 times 4 21/100. So when I go to multiply this, I like to put the number that has the most most place values on top. So I'm going to put 4 21/100 on top, and then 6 8/10 below. Again, my place values do not need to be lined up, so I can just multiply. Here I have 1 2 decimals. Here I have 1. So in my answer, I'm going to need to have 3 decimal places. Now I'm going to pretend like they're not there, multiply like normal. 1 times 8 is 8, 2 times 8 is 16, 4 times 8 is 32, plus 1 is 33. I'm done with this, and I'm skipping a place value, so I need to skip that one. So I'm going to put a 0 there, so I know to skip it. 6 times 1 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12, 6 times 4 is 24, plus 1 is 25. Now I can add this together. 8 plus 0 is 8, 6 and 6 is 12. This is going to be 6, 8, and 2. And then I need to have 3 decimal places in my answer. So I'm going to start at the end. 1, 2, 3. That's where my decimal would be. So my final answer would be 28 and 628 10,000ths. Okay. So for dividing, I'm going to show you 2 different for dividing. I'm going to show you a decimal by a whole number, and then I'm going to show you a decimal by a decimal. So we're going to practice both of them. I'm going to go ahead and flip to the other side of this paper. Oh, I'm going to flip to a new paper. So the first problem I'm going to show you is going to be 5 divided by 12 5/10. Okay, so when we divide decimals, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring up our decimal place, and it's just going to go right there. Okay, right there, it's done. Now we're going to divide like normal. 5 doesn't go into 1, but it does go into 12. 5 goes into 12 2 times. 2 times 5 is 10. And when I subtract that, I get a remainder of 2. Okay, now I'm going to bring down my 5. Again, I'm kind of treating my decimal like it's not even there. I've already put it up in my answer, so I don't need to worry about it anymore. 5 goes into 25 5 times. 5 times 5 is 25. I have 0 remainder, so my answer to 12.5 divided by 5 is 2.5. Easy enough. Let's do a decimal divided by a decimal. So if I have 45 57/100 divided by 3.1. Okay, so where this gets a little bit tricky is I cannot have, or I don't want to have, any decimals on the outside of my division problem. So what we are going to do is we're going to basically come up with a way that we can move it. I can't just move things because I want to. So what you're going to do is you're going to multiply both the outside number and the inside number by 10. Okay, because when I multiply it by 10, it enables me to move my decimal place one place over, so that now I have the problem 31 divided by 455.7, and I will get the same answer because I've just multiplied both of my numbers by 10. So now I bring my decimal up, and this is going to be a little bit easier to work with. So 31 goes into 4, it doesn't. It goes into 45 one time. 1 times 31 is 31. And I'm going to get a remainder of 14. Bring down my 5. It's going to go into 45, I think 4 times. Let's come over here and say 31 times 4 is going to be 124. Yep. 124. Remainder of 21. Bring down my 7, so 217. I think that's around 6 or 7. Let's try 7. 31 times 7, 217. Perfect. Remainder of 0. So my answer would be 14 7/10. Okay, so again, and if I needed to check that, let's say, because I know some of you look at that and go, oh no, that's 31 divided by 455. If I need to check it, I can always take 14 7/10 and multiply it by my 3.1. I'm at 1 decimal place, so I need 2 in my answer. 7 times 1 is 7, 4, 1. Put my 0 there. 3 times 7 is 21. This 12 plus 2 is 14. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. 7, 5, 5, 4. 2 decimal places, bloop, bloop. 45 and 57 hundredths, which is what I started with. So it does work. Good luck.